And we've got MLB, NBA, NFL, and all sorts of other sports news coming up, so stay tuned. Sports Talk Live is next. Hello, and thanks for tuning into Sports Talk Live. I'm your host, Colin Malliott. Alongside me are my partners in crime, Corey Madsen and Carter Meyer. Thanks, you guys, for coming in, gentlemen.
Thanks, good to be here.
Yeah, no problem. It's going to be a good show. So we're going to skip some of the niceties, some of the small talk, and get right into what we all came to talk about, and that's obviously Packers football, NFL football. So right now we're 4-2. Second place in the NFL North. Been plagued by injury. We got Eddie Lacy, James Starks, Chris Banjo, Demarius Russell, Abbrederis. He was just added along with Chris Banjo to IR yesterday. So we're walking wounded with the Pack. We don't have a lot of flash, gentlemen, as we did the last couple years. What are some things you think we could improve on, and some things we've been doing well this year?
Okay, so yeah, we suffered some heartbreaking losses to the Vikings in Week 2 and the Cowboys in Week 6. But honestly, I think we need to get our defense a lot better, and they need to start preparing more. Our offense is kind of lackluster, and Rodgers, he hasn't been getting the job done like he used to be, like in the past years. He averages 239 yards per game throwing, and he's ranked 20th in the league, and they're currently ranked 19th in rushing. So those aren't the greatest statistics for a team that we put so much expectations on every year for how they play and just their level of play. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big thing. We, as Packers fans, put a huge amount of stress and expectation on these Packers because they've been doing so well in the past. And things I think they can improve on is definitely their secondary. There's a lot of injuries they're plagued. Obviously, nothing new with the Packers there, but that's an area that would be great. And that's what teams in the past that have succeeded with have done well. And then some success are pass protection. Even with TJ Lang or Josh Sitton, I can't remember who left recently. They're still, it was Sitton, yeah. Mm-hmm. They still been doing a great job. Aaron Rodgers still has a ton of time. He's just not making those throws that he used to in the past. He's missing a lot of his receivers, and I think that has to do with some of the chemistry. But,
yeah, that's something I agree with. My bad was our wide receivers just got to get open. Yeah. You see that downfield. Rodgers has a lot of time, like you said, in the backfield, but he's just not getting his passes away to open receivers, you know what I mean? But one of the things I thought we did well is with our injuries and such, kind of, like I said, walking wounded, we're really playing well, and new guys are stepping up, and they're trying trying new things, like with Montgomery at running back, and he actually really, I thought he performed very well for just kind of being thrown into there, and hopefully, like Niall Davis can come along and be a good replacement. So what are some of the players that impressed you, like specifically? I touched on Ty Montgomery being a running back, and then also, is there anyone who hasn't impressed you?
Who's really impressed me has to be actually on the defensive side. Jake Ryan, he leads the team in tackles with 38 tackles, and Eddie Lacy cutting back on weight and averaging 5.1 yards per game. Also through 5 games, he has half the amount of yards he had last year. So already, which was in 15 games last year. So he's been making strides. It sucks that he's on IR now, but hopefully we can get him back pretty soon.
What do you got?
With the Packers there? Yeah, definitely. Areas
wrapping it up.
Yeah, we'll quick wrap it up, but just one thing I think a shining star in the Packers who hasn't been is Davante Adams. He made Aaron Rodgers look super good, and hopefully he'll do that in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So Packers next game Sunday at Atlanta, who are 4-3 and lead the NFC South. Excuse me. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So moving on now, we're going to spread to the entire league as a whole, the NFL. Moving on from just the Packers, like I said, there's plenty of the usual suspects being where we expect them to be, but we have a couple shakeups. Like I said, Browns being 0-7, Patriots, we get that. But what are your guys' biggest surprises going into week 9 now, is it? Week
Yeah.
8?
So-
week 9?
I think the biggest prize for me has to be the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they got 2 rookies in, the quarterback and the running back.
Yeah.
So for them to be sitting at a 5-1 record right now and beating the Packers, it was heartbreaking, but it's very shocking to me. I mean, they have a great offensive line in former standout with Travis Frederick from Wisconsin.
Yes.
So they've been able to do a fantastic job this season.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think the Cowboys are a team to look for in the future. They're building, and with Tony Romo, that whole situation with their quarterback, it's something that I didn't see coming when the season came out, and awesome. I'm really happy that they're finding that. It sucks, yeah, the Packers, but good for the Cowboys, whatever. Something that really surprised me was this Vikings loss with the Eagles. I knew they were a good team, but I didn't think they could defeat the Vikings,
Yeah,
That's crazy, yeah.
My biggest surprise, honestly, has to be Carolina, just completely declawed as Panthers. But they got 1 win all year, and their Bears also 1-6 in what's usually a very competitive NFC North, which was just kind of surprising for me. And if I have to put down some Super Bowl 51 picks, they'd have to be Vikings and Pats, fellas. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Pats are sitting very well now. They got Brady and Gronk back, so
Brady's insane.
I think it's just going to pay dividends for them.
Yeah, definitely. I have the Patriots as well, and then for the NFC, it's in between the Seahawks and the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Whoever
definitely.
pans out there, we'll see.
So moving on from the entire NFL, we're going to focus just on last night, Monday Night Football. It was Houston versus Denver. Brock Osweiler was returning to Denver, and then also Kubiak was facing his former team as well. But we really saw Trevor Siemian, I thought, blossom, and he's really taking on that role as Peyton Manning's successor. So do you guys have any takeaways from that game last night?
Yeah, I thought the Broncos moved the ball very well through the air and on the ground. C.J.
Definitely.
Anderson had 107 yards and a TD, and Devontae Booker also rushed for another 80 yards and a touchdown. So that just shows how deep this this Denver team is on defense and offense. So.
Exactly. I have to say the same thing, especially with C.J. Anderson with that many rushing yards. I didn't see that coming. And granted, Houston isn't a very good team this year, but it shows that Denver is still a very dominant team on offense. Everyone knows them for their defense. With
Definitely.
Yeah. So.
So do you guys see Trevor Siemian as a long-term viable successor for Peyton Manning? I know they were looking at Brock Osweiler, and then he jumped ship right before the season. I want to say went to Houston, like we said. But overall, Siemian's been playing much better than I think Brock Osweiler has. Siemian, over the course of the year, he has over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and Osweiler has put up similar stats, but with 8 interceptions. So, what are you guys' thoughts on Siemian kind of quietly taking over this role?
I don't know. To say he's a successor of Peyton Manning,
It's big shoes to fill.
That is very big shoes to fill. But I don't know. It's tough to say that he's the successor. It's still early in the year, and a lot of things could go wrong. So I mean, to say he's going to be successful.
I'm just looking at it optimistically.
No, it's definitely something you just don't hear about. Us being Packers fans and whatnot, you don't hear those big names, especially like Trevor Siemian, comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely a quiet role, but I think he can feel it.
All right, so moving on now. We touched on Monday Night Football. What about Sunday Night Football? That game that ended in a 6-6 tie was between the Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald, who's played over 200 games, including playoffs, said it was the craziest game he's ever played in. So it was the first NFL tie since 1974 that hasn't had a touchdown. And Hauschka missed a game-winning 28-yard chip shot at that went wide left in OT. So that raised some questions on how the NFL handles overtime. And do you guys think that we need a rule change for OT or no?
Yeah, I really think that we need a rule change. We and my roommates actually were just talking about this. We think that they should switch it back to what college rules are, but not. I think they're on the 25-yard line. They push it back, push it back to the 35 or the 40-yard line, and you play both offense and defense, and whoever scores. I think that would add more excitement to OT. And you don't play for a tie. You should play to win. It's football. People pay to go see a team win.
Yeah, going off that, I mean, you're going to a game. You don't want to see a tie. I mean, soccer's one thing, but
It's different with like a point system
exactly.
too.
Yeah,
with the
for
league,
sure.
it's a little different instead of just straight on their record like the NFL is.
Yes.
I'd say. But I also agree. I think the college system works well for them. It's very exciting. I love seeing college games go to overtime because you know it's going to be that shootout at the end, right in front of the fan section, stuff like that. Russell Wilson also, he brought up after the game, he mentioned just having one kicker out there, 35 yards, kick a field goal. But I don't think that's a very viable option. All right, so thank you guys for sticking with us through the NFL football right away. But now let's take a look at those perfect pets.
Hi, I'm Scully. I'm an energetic 5-month-old kitten who loves playing with toys.
Hi, I'm Alfred. I'm a 5-year-old golden retriever who is looking for an affectionate family to love.
Hi, I'm Alaska. I'm 3 years old, very sweet, and I love kids.
Well, hey there. I'm Calvin. I'm a 4-year-old coonhound who loves playing outdoors and running around.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Again, the number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 781-4014. All right, guys, so we talked a lot in-depth sports analysis of the NFL, so how about we take a little lighter note and talk about our fantasy teams. How are you guys doing this year?
I'm sitting pretty well. I don't know about him.
But he's definitely doing better than I am.
I got a 5-2 record, sitting first in my league for the first time in my leagues in like 3 years. So I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I got Drew Brees, Melvin Gordon, Frank Gore, T.Y. Hilton. They're all putting up great stats. And, you know, a disappointment for me is probably Todd Gurley. He's putting up 2.9 yards per carry. It was like my first pick, so.
You always
have that one pick.
I
I agree on that. Yeah, mine just, DeAndre Hopkins, who I thought was going to be a star from last year. He's had all those great plays, those touchdowns, just nothing this year at all. Yeah, I mean, luckily I picked up Melvin Gordon just because I'm a Badgers fan. I'm like, hey, I think he'll progress and become something good, and he did. Thank you, Melvin. But still, I'm 4-3, and I haven't even looked at my fantasy team until this past week because I've just been so mad at him.
I mean, disclaimer, I did get last place in my league last year. I had to do the Blazing Challenge, which was not the most fun thing I've ever had to do. But yeah, like you, I'm 4-3, and I think all three of us, like we said, we all have Melvin Gordon, and he's really been, I'd say, a star this year, a fantasy star.
Leads the league in touchdowns.
Exactly, eight touchdowns, 461 yards on the year. I unfortunately sat him a couple times in the beginning of the year when he was going off. And I think, well, another thing I have to say is I have Aaron Rodgers too, and I think he's overhated. He's been putting up numbers for me at least. He's been throwing touchdowns. He's had 3 pretty big weeks in general. The only rant I really have about that is Michael Crabtree seems to only go off when I bench him, which is, I guess, the nature of the beast.
Maybe you should just call him up, see what's up with that.
All right, moving on now. We're sticking with football, but going to college. Badgers are currently ranked number 11 after their win against Iowa. The only losses this year were to Michigan and OSU, 2 top 5 teams. So the future falls on Alex Hornibrook, and we've just also learned that on the defensive side of the ball, Jack Sitchie will be out for the rest of the year. So what are the impact players now, especially since Sitchie is out, what are some impact players that you guys have for the Badgers going forward?
I just want to make a note that we dropped out of the top 10 versus a 5-2 team that made the college football playoffs last year.
Especially, and we played them at home and won.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It was
I don't know, man.
I think the whole ranking thing was a little snafu.
It's definitely in the past with Wisconsin. We always seem to get really bad ranks. I don't know what's up with that. But I think, like you said, with this defense, with Sitchie being gone, T.J. Watt, who was kind of a little silent against Ohio State and Iowa, is really going to step up his role, hopefully, against Nebraska.
Yeah, I agree. For me, like I said Hornibrook, being the new quarterback, being the freshman, he's got to keep his cool. He's got to keep playing well. Like, I think he's been playing well, especially for
handled it.
freshmen.
Yeah.
I think that Corey Clement, he has to sort of step up, put up the numbers we were accustomed to, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
expecting from him.
As well as Jazz Peavy. Jazz Peavy has been quietly one of the Badgers' best players, I think. He's always there to make a big catch when we need him to, and he's definitely my offensive impact player.
Yeah, he's had 2 great games versus OSU and Michigan State, putting up both close to 100 yards each game and a touchdown. I mean, they really have to look to him if they want to continue to move the offense and move the ball and move the chains. So.
Definitely, I agree. Like you guys said, though, with the Badgers being 11, do you think that's definitely too low? Would you agree? Especially with the schedule strength that they have, I would say losing to Michigan and OSU, who are 2 of, like you guys had, the best teams in football. I think it's only because that OSU losing to Penn State was the reason that we really dropped. They kind of showed a weakness there.
Yeah, exactly.
So moving on, we're keeping it with college football. But on now to Heisman hopefuls. We're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson, obviously. So right now, ESPN or SportsCenter, their Heisman watch has 5 players on it. Lamar Jackson, Jake Browning of Washington, Deshaun Watson on Clemson, Donnell Pumphrey on San Diego State, and then Jabril Peppers, who's obviously a 2-way player on Michigan. We were talking about him before. But do you guys think that anyone can beat Lamar Jackson?
I think Deshaun Watson, because he was in the Heisman running last year, he's got some experience there. I don't think he'll beat Lamar Jackson.
Kind of give him a run for his money.
Yeah, he'll give him a run for his money.
Motivate him to do better,
which would be awesome to see him do that. Yeah, of course.
Exciting.
Yeah, just because he was in there, he has that experience. They know that he's still a good contender, and if he steps his game up, to see those 2 battle,
definitely,
that'd be amazing. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's really going to catch the sophomore quarterback. I mean, he's putting up just insane numbers.
Yeah.
And
34 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards of
ridiculous,
total
man.
offense
Crazy.
already. He's just on fire.
For a sophomore.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, JT Barrett's put up a great year. He's put up he has a great touchdown to interception ratio at 17-4, and with only 7 games played, that's pretty impressive. I just don't think anybody's going to catch
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, with JT Barrett, I think with this loss to Penn State, he's going to drop in the rankings.
I think so, too.
I
think that's why he wasn't in that top 5.
Exactly,
honestly.
because of that.
But we talked about Lamar Jackson's just monster numbers. Do you guys think he's having the best season ever? I looked up some other of the best seasons. We talked Barry Sanders. He's certainly a good company. Barry Sanders, Steve McNair. Sanders had 39 total touchdowns and over 3,200 yards rushing. Is this going to be the best season that we've ever seen from a college football player?
That's tough to say. There's been a lot of seasons and a lot of great players that have come through, but
anything can happen in college football.
Anything can happen.
Injury,
you got that right.
Whatever it may be.
All right, moving on now. We talked football. Now we're going to talk football. I don't know how you like that. Yeah. So we're talking the other kind of football. European soccer right now is in full swing. Barclays Premier League, La Liga, things like that. We haven't seen quite the shakeup that we're experiencing in the NFL and the Premier League, but there's still a couple teams like my Manchester United sitting in 7th place. But other than that, top 8 kind of look familiar. 3 teams currently in first. Do you guys, are there any other surprises or any other things to take note on the Premier League season?
Yeah, I think Leicester City not sitting at the top of the table this season is interesting. They came up after being promoted, and they actually won the league. So
right now they're in 12th.
Yeah, for them to be 12th right now is very surprising. I also liked the play from Christian Pulisic. He's a German defender, or German midfielder, or USA midfielder.
Yeah,
plays in Germany. Yeah, you got it. But
gotcha.
He had a goal and assist versus FC Ingolstadt, and he's just been on fire, and I just can't wait to look forward to him in future World Cups.
Yeah.
Well, see, I just want to say one thing, Mr. Collin. It's that money can't buy you wins. And with Manchester, I love Manchester United. They're kind of the Yankees of soccer, but
that's true.
I think in the future their chemistry will build and they'll be a dominant force like they were in the past.
That's definitely something I have going forward. I don't want to foreshadow too much into my rant, but it has to be with Paul Pogba just not living up to that. He cost £90 million early this summer. And just unreal. Otherwise than that, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, all sitting at least in the top 3 of their leagues.
Yeah, nothing really changed
Pretty much a formality.
Same old business there.
At that point. All right, on now. We're going back to America, to baseball. World
America's
Series
pastime.
preview. America's pastime, exactly. So it's a pretty historic World Series. Game 1 starts tonight, and Cleveland haven't won since 1948. Cubs 1908. I'm pretty sure every
Everyone
baseball
knows
fan
that.
knows that pretty much by now. I think we've kind of solidified that the Cubs are the real deal. But what are your guys' opinions on like the Indians? Do you think that they have a chance to like beat out the Cubs? Because I think everyone right now is favoring the Cubs.
Well,
Everyone wants the Cubs.
I think with the relief pitcher Andrew Miller, he's out of 16 batters he's faced, he's struck out like 14. That's amazing stats, you know, for a pitcher and in the MLB, excuse me, MLB. But yeah, I think he's going to be a huge impact along with their base running. They have the best base running in baseball. You know, that's huge. If you got speed on the base paths, you can score from first and for sure from second base, and that's huge to go up a team with such big hitters like the Cubs.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think I think this Cleveland team is too injury plagued right now in their pitching rotation. As far as like I don't think they're going to be able to, you know, pitch against this red hot Cubs team. You know, the bats of Bryant, Rizzo, and Addison Russell are just going to be too much for them, to be honest.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
I think it's interesting. We have Kyle Schwarber. He was just announced today that he's coming back.
Yep.
He's making his turn. He's on the roster and expected to start tonight in Game 1. So he was out. He was supposed to be out till next spring. Excuse me. He had 2 torn ligaments. Do you guys think it is too risky for him to play? Like, do you think that they're risking something playing him in the World Series?
Not at all, no. Not as a DH. Yeah. I think that, you know, we were just talking about this in the studio before. If he gets a hit and a walk, you know, 1 for 3, I think he'll have a great game. And you're not less likely to be injured if you're just batting, you know.
I agree.
Might as well use him now.
All right, well, thank you guys for that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. But first, we have a new promo for Com Club. Stay tuned. And we're back. We're going to be talking now the winter sports tip-off, fellas. The NHL season began on October 12th. We're not really going to get into that. Hopefully, Penguins can defend their title. But more importantly, NBA action starts tonight. I'm so excited. What do you guys have just kind of going into the season? Do you have any expectations for the season or...
Bucks and 6.
Bucks and 6?
Bucks and 6.
Always.
I have to agree with that. But do we have Golden State as already contenders? I mean, they coming off a historic season, obviously. They were 73-9 last year. Added Kevin Durant, who's arguably the 3rd best player in the league behind Curry and LeBron. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, honestly, when adding him to their team, I don't know how that dynamic will be, because in basketball, having that many good players on one team, it's hard to get them the ball.
Hard to share the ball, hard to get everyone to
to get all those
score.
points. So if they can figure that out this season before it's too late, before the playoffs start, then they can be extremely dominant. They can be better than the Bulls. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But that's if they figure that out. Yeah, they do. Exactly.
In Wade and Rondo.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, definitely. I think that the Cavs will be another team that's going to be interesting again to watch, coming off of that finals victory. They came back and beat Golden State. But in the long run, I just cannot see them. I cannot see anyone really topping Golden State.
I had Golden State as well. I mean, they added Zaza Pachulia, who you might not think is a good player. but he's a small big that can pass the ball, and it's going to really spread the floor for Golden State.
For Golden
and
State
get their
and
shooters
free up.
the ball.
Yeah, I was just gonna say free up those shooters: Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. They're already hitting no-look threes in preseason. That's just wild. So on now, we're staying on the hardwood.
Yeah.
We're talking college basketball. So top 25 was just released. We're happy to see our Badgers in at number 10. That's pretty cool. We got some of the usual suspects in Duke, Kansas, Kentucky in the top 10. What are you guys' thought on top 25 and Badgers season as a whole?
I think the top 25 is fairly reasonable. There is actually 5 Big Ten teams in it, within Michigan State at number 9, Wisconsin number 10, Purdue at 15, Maryland at 19, I think. And so for them, the Big Ten is, always good at basketball, and they've put up great numbers every year. I want to see how they compete between the ACC and the SEC. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think Big Ten, they always have good teams, quality basketball, but with the Badgers specifically, I think with them not losing anyone, and like you said, getting this new huge shooter in, can't remember his last name.
Andy Van Vliet.
Van Vliet, yeah, coming off, and him getting big, like, that's something that we had when we had Frank Kaminsky draining threes from downtown, a 7-footer. It's hard to defend that. You can't, basically.
Yeah, the Badgers they're projected first place in the Big Ten. Like you said, they had their top 10 minute earners last year. They're going to be back this year. Like Koenig, Happ, Hayes, Brown, Showalter, all of them are back. Vito Brown said people have to fight for their spots, and there's no guarantees, which is definitely a good thing, competition on that team. My player to watch, like you said, was Andy Van Vliet. He sat out last year. He was from Belgium, and he didn't enroll in time, so he had to sit out the entire year. So basically, he spent the entire year getting mentally tough, lifting weights, getting big. He's a big shooter, 6'11", and I really think that if he can find his way into that stacked Badger team, that they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. Definitely,
especially. With Ethan Happ.
Yeah, exactly.
Just seeing him flourish in March Madness.
Exactly.
And taking on kind of that Frank Kaminsky role where he's the big guy making moves down low. And the Badgers need that. And you can definitely tell that from those past players, they have that fire, that will, they want to win.
Yeah.
And that's great to see in young players because then they can develop into something better, especially with the leadership of Bronson Kane.
Yeah, they all, since we have all those people coming back, they all have the experience. Van Vliet played overseas. There'll be something to watch, definitely. In the year coming up. So on now, we got our rants, and I think I'll go first. How's that sound? My rant is going to be on Manchester United Football Club. We touched on it earlier. They've just not been performing. 7th place is not good enough. I mean, we've had a couple wins in the Europa League, but other than that, it's been a really frustrating year. David De Gea has been Player of the Year the last couple of years, the goalkeeper, and I think he's Player of the Decade. He's been the only reason that Manchester United has been competitive at all. Like I said, 7th place, coming off a 4-0 loss to Chelsea. It's been a frustrating year so far. Hopefully we can turn it around.
Yeah.
Who's up next?
Yep, so for my rant, I'm going to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. He's an interesting character, to say the least. Every week he has some new antics that he's performing, whether it's kicking the net or proposing to the net. I don't know. He clearly wears his emotions on his sleeve. You can see him tearing up on the sidelines, and that's okay to have a passion for the game, but when your antics on the sideline take away from your team...
It's almost overshadowing.
Yeah. And putting on this kind of this mask for the media. And I just don't think that's right, and honestly, I think that's why the team is 4-3 and tied for last place in their division. So.
Oh, crazy, yeah. OBJ, he's something else. He's something I just don't like about professional sports, but I'm not going to rant about that. No, I want to just talk about the Packers. You guys, step up your game. You're scaring me. I'm not watching Packers games as much as I used to in the past, just because it's not as fun. Maybe we are spoiled. I don't know. Work on your team chemistry, this back shoulder passes. That's what your bread and butter was. Come on, Aaron. Listen to Carter Meyer, this UW lacrosse
Aaron, if
junior.
you're watching, Carter Meyer has some words of wisdom for you.
Oh, and then just personally off my own notes, C-League basketball for me, it was my first game last night. I just want to rant about how we need, if you're watching, anyone UW lacrosse, we need a shooter. We only won 21-19 last night. Cannot live off our threes. So if you can drain threes and play great defense, we want
You're in the hunt for someone.
We need someone. Yeah, this is my podium here.
Well, I think so far we've had a very good year for sports. Looking forward to the next couple weeks where we can talk about it again. Fellas, thanks for joining me. It's been a blast.
Glad to be here.
Tune in to WMCM, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Have a good one.